In our Boolean expressions, we have mostly worked with numbers and comparing numbers as being equal to, not equal to, greater than, or less than. But oftentimes we want to work with strings. And so there's something to be aware of when you're comparing strings, that not all strings are created equal. So I've created a little program here in which we're going to have the user enter two strings. Enter the first string, enter the second string, and then we're going to check to see are they equivalent. String A equals string B. And if they are, we'll print out that the strings are equal. But if they're not, we're going to print out the two strings are not equal. And then determine one as being less than or greater than the other. And we'll do that with a nested if-else. So if they're not equal, we'll also print out that the first one is less than or the first one is greater than. It'll be one or the other. But then I want to show you how we can compare strings and take out the case sensitivity. And we'll come back and look at that in a minute. Let me just run this. So I'm being asked to enter the first string. I'm going to type in cat, and then I'm going to type in cat again. And I'm told the two strings are not equal and that cat is greater than cat. But if you look closely at what I did, in the first one I did all lowercase, and in the second one I did an uppercase C. And those are different. And we'll come back and look at why that is in a minute. But then notice the next statement here. I did a line, empty line. And then I said, but are they equivalent if case sensitivity is removed? And yes, they are identical when converted to uppercase. So let's look at that last portion here. I printed that statement, are they equivalent if case sensitivity is removed? And then I did another comparison. But this time I took string A and I converted it to all uppercase. And I did the same thing with string B, converted it to all uppercase. So now, in both those examples, we have cat, uppercase C, uppercase A, uppercase T, for both string A and string B being compared. And now they are identical. So we get this response that yes, they're identical when converted to uppercase. Let's just run one more here, kind of along those same lines. I'm going to do cat, and I'm going to do dog. And I'm told the two strings are not equal. Cat is less than dog. But are they equivalent if case sensitivity is removed? No, the two strings are still not the same because dog and cat are not the same thing if even at uppercase. But why is cat less than dog? And how do we figure here that cat lowercase is greater than cat with an uppercase letter? Well, to do that, we need to realize that letters are represented by digits. They have decimal equivalents, because remember, everything the computer sees is a 1 or a 0, and we can convert letters to their ASCII value. Every letter is assigned an ASCII value. When Python is doing a comparison, or in any language is doing a comparison of two strings, it's going to look at the ASCII value of the first letter of each string and determine if they are the same, less than, or greater than. In this case, a lowercase c has a higher ASCII value than an uppercase C. Let's take a look at an ASCII table so you can see what I mean. Here then is the ASCII table for the first 127 characters, typical in most fonts. And I realize that in various fonts, characters can change positions, but usually it's after the first 127 or first 128, we start counting with 0. And even after the first 255 characters. With Unicode these days, you can have 65,000 different characters in a font. So, but this is the table. We find a small c. It's over here in this last column. And each of these characters can be represented by a decimal, a hexadecimal, or an octal number. The decimals are our normal way we think of numbers as base 10, hexadecimal is base 16, octal is base 8. Remember, behind all these is also binary, which would be just zeros and ones, base 2. But we think about numbers in terms of our standard decimal values, and a C has a decimal value of 99, lowercase c. But an uppercase C has a value of 67. By the way, the difference between an uppercase and a lowercase is always a difference of 32. So 67 plus 32 is 99. I tend to remember that a capital A is 65, and then I can very easily figure out what the decimal value should be of any uppercase or lowercase letter. So we're comparing actually not a lowercase c to an uppercase c. When we're doing a if Boolean expression, what it's really comparing is the 99 to the 67. And that is why c, or cat with a capital C, is a lower value than cat with an lowercase c. Now if these were both the same, you would then look at the next letter. So maybe our first string has the A for cat as a lowercase, but the A for cat in the second one is uppercase and is 65. So now we're comparing a 65 to a 97. And it'll keep going down the line to compare each character within each position until it finds something different, or until it reaches the end of the string. And if it reaches the end of the string in both cases and it hasn't found any differences, then it declares them as being equivalent. But I gave the example earlier in the bubble that if I'd put a space after cat, if I did both lowercase cat for the first one and cat space for the second one, then they would not be the same, because we get to that fourth character and the second string has a space, which is a decimal 32. The second one doesn't have anything, and so those are not equivalent. So in most cases, when doing a string comparison, you'll want to take the case sensitivity out of the picture. And again, we can do that converting each string to all uppercase using the .upper method, or I can do the same thing with the .lower method. Just make sure you apply it consistently to both sides, or you will not get anything equivalent. So again, I'm going to run this, and this time we'll do dog and dog. And while they're not equal by themselves, when we take that case sensitivity out, lowering them both to lowercase, then they are the same. So .upper and .lower, these are methods, so make sure you always put the parentheses after the name.